Okay, welcome back to fourth quarter football. We're going to be looking at running a play here. Now, although I'm going to be playing the defense, I do know what the play is. We're going to run the middle slants play.
Who told you
Who
that?
told me that? I looked at the card, which of course isn't what you would do in the real game, but it's just going to help me explain to Dr. K how we're going to play it through. We have our teams lined up. Now, normally, what you do is you call the play and then you line your offense up. Then the defense lines up based on that. But we've just set out with a very basic defense and a basic offense with players where they would standard positions would be. Now, in this case, we have the ball sitting behind the centre. The reason we set it up there, that ball counter, is that it's much easier to move once you get started, so it's a bit of a conceit to the game. Normally, of course, in the real game, the player would have the ball in front of him, the centre. Now,
my centre is so well trained.
He's already done it. He's already snapped the ball. Now, we set the game up into two different phases. The first phase is when we call the first 3 steps, and that is when your players are doing those first few movements that has been drilled into them for this play. Meanwhile, the defense is making that very quick, read what's happening and try and react to it straight away. So what we do in the first phase is we move all the players, or we have the players do something. After that, we then go into the highlight phase when our players move one at a time. Offense, defense, because that's really, nobody cares what the wide receiver is doing on that side if we are actually looking at a play coming this way. If you imagine, it's like the camera in a real game of American football. It starts with a nice wide angle of the team, but then if it's a sweep left, it comes focusing in on the running back. Okay, if it's a pass, it will suddenly look at the quarterback and then pull away to see what's happening over here. It will look one at a time. It won't focus on all the players, and we play it just like that. So the first thing you've got to do on this play, Dr. K, is we have got to roll for how successful your offensive line were at pass protecting for this play. Because the first thing you have to announce, you don't have to show me the play, you do have to say whether it's a run or a pass. Run or is it a pass?
It's a pass.
Are you sure?
No.
Yes, it's a pass. Middle slant, yellow background of your card is a pass. So, where you will check against your offensive line, if you look down for your offensive line are represented by one card. And that card covers all 3 of them. Right in the middle there, because that's it. So, your offensive line have a pass protect of 7. So, now, that's your success score. That's the score you have to make, your target score. So, if you roll 2d6, 2 dice, and try and get more than 7. Okay, now this is what happens in a real dice demonstration. We're not going to edit this, we've got a 4. Now, that means that your offensive line have not succeeded. But because their score is at least is within 4 of their target, so they haven't gone under 4 for their target or more, they have at least not done something terrible. So what's happened now is they should have been blocking one of these guys. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to pretend that roll was a 7. Okay, so can we flip one of the dice to make it a 7? If we slip that one over top, oh, it's a 7! Woo! Right, so they've actually done something. Now, in this case, with all rolls, if you make the success roll, you have a minor success. If you make 4 more than your success roll, you have a major success. And if you roll a double 6, you have a critical success. Conversely, if you get 4 less, you have a failure. Minor failure if it's under your target score. 4 less means a major failure. And if you get a double 1, snake eyes, we are on to critical failures, which means probably the end of your drive. Now, in this case, we have managed to get a 7. That means, Dr. K, if you take this counter, that's an engaged counter. That means one of these defensive linemen has been picked up by one of these offensive linemen. And you can choose which one you're going to pick up. Now, that's a good choice because you can see that the defensive lineman on that side has been engaged now. But as your running back has actually shifted over slightly to the left on this play, then he's going to be able to pick up any blitzes on that side. Now, that engaged counter means that that player is not going to be able to move in this first phase. And he's basically out of the play. He's engaged. He's not doing anything. Now we're going to start moving our players about. So, your quarterback, now if you remember from the play, your play said he had to make a 3-step drop. Now he has a maximum movement of 2 in this section. So, drop back. Now he can drop back directly back or just slightly at an angle, a 45-degree angle, but either's fine. That's good. That's good. Let's go with that for start with. And the ball comes with him. Otherwise, it's just been left in the centre's hands.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so we now have the quarterback has made his drop back. Now we're going to look at these two receivers. The first one over here, our flanker, he has got a movement of 3 in this section. So again, this is the first 3 steps as he powers out to start heading towards his zone. It's not enough to get him to his zone yet, but we're going to see how he gets on. Now, players can move 1 square for each of their movement, but if they have to pass a defensive player, then they have to make an evade roll. That's because, you know, people are nudging each other as they go past. The defense are trying to slow the offense down, not allow them to quite move as fast as they would like to do. It's also hard to run across the middle in traffic. So in this case, you would maybe want to move your player 3 squares. So if you start moving him,
What about diagonal? Is that...
yeah, diagonal. Good point. Diagonal is exactly the same, and the direction where the counter is facing, that doesn't matter. Just imagine that it's 360 degree. 1, 2. Now, as you make that second move, this player was in here, you're going to have to make an evade roll for him, because you're passing from 1 square adjacent to him to another. Now, you're not going to have to worry about evading that defensive tackle because he's already engaged. So let's see if we can evade. So if you look at Trust Fund's card and see what his evade score is.
6.
Okay, so he's good at evading. This is what he does. This is his job. This is where he makes the money. And the dice have a 6 and a 3 on them, so he makes a 9, which is a success. So he has managed to evade this player. This player is evaded. Now, that's good news for him because you don't have to roll again for any player during any phase. So at the moment in this phase, he does not have to re-roll to evade that player. So even if he moves to another adjacent square, he won't. So he's moved 2 so far. You've got his last movement left. Okay, now you're now evading that linebacker. Okay, so he's really trying to go through the middle at the moment.
Yep.
He's treading a thin line. So we're going to roll against that linebacker. See, for his evade score 6, and he gets a 5. So the 5 isn't so good. He hasn't quite made it. Now, what happens is you lose 1 movement in the first phase if you fail the roll. So although he doesn't fall over, there's not a major failure because it's only 1 under his target score. We are looking at the fact that he's lost a movement. Now, he moved into there. That was his 3rd movement, wasn't it?
Yes, it
so
was.
actually that means, oh no, he goes back to there. He never actually managed to slot through these guys. Now, over on the other side of the field, we have the other receiver, the split end. Now, he's being marked right up at the line of scrimmage by the defensive back. That defensive back is doing that to make him roll an evade roll and try and slow him down right at the start of the play. So we're going to have to make another to see what his evade is. What is his evade?
His evade is 7.
7. Okay, so he's not quite as good as evading as the other receiver because that's not quite his job. He's the guy who goes deep. He's not so interested in dodging past people over the middle. Okay, off we go.
Okay, please be nice.
Okay, we didn't quite make it there, so his movement is reduced by 1, so he can still move 2. But if he carries on moving through zones, he's still going to have to make another evade roll because he still hasn't got past that player. So he takes his 2nd step to there because his movement's been reduced by 1 in this phase, and we roll again. And, oh no, we have double 1. We got Snake Eyes. So, that's a bit of a disaster for this player. Snake Eyes in this case means that that player managed to trip over while trying to get past. A bit of mud, something on it. This is a dice game. These things happen. Okay, now, we're going to carry on the play, but things are already getting desperate. We've got one last player to move for the offense, and that is the running back. So he can move 2 squares. Now, at the moment, in this play that we're looking at, middle slants, he is not an actual target on the card. So he really doesn't want to go running off and doing anything too much. So he can move up to 2 squares. Is there anywhere you would like to end? Has fallen over there. We've actually got a situation where this player has got to do something to stop that cornerback maybe coming straight for the quarterback. So he's probably in a good position where he is. The best you would want is maybe to move him 1 square over. But even then, there you go. That's probably a good position. He's picking up that outside. That means anybody trying to pass through that square to him, they're going to have to make multiple evade rolls to get into this square and get to the quarterback. Okay, so we have had our first phase for the offense, and now we're going to move to the first phase for the defense. This is very much similar. The players have their initial moves. Now, the initial move for this guy is one move for the defensive tackle. Now, he's going to try and fight his way round to the outside to put the quarterback under pressure, and he succeeds. So he's managed to evade to that square. Meanwhile, I'm looking at this. Now that player can stand up next time. So this player is going to try and cover him. Coverage is when you just follow the player and take them go wherever they go. Now in this case, because the player he's covering has already fallen over, he gets a +3 to this. It's a really easy cover. His cover score is 7, so but we're now looking at a 4+ success, and he gets a 6. So he's managed to succeed. Now at that point, we put a coverage counter between them. That means even if that flanker split end gets up and starts running around, he's going to be followed by that defensive back. Now, over here, I'm looking at my what's happening with his split end. I'm going to cover him with my coverage guy here. But he hasn't succeeded. He didn't make his target score, so that man is still free. Now, my linebackers, they're not good at coverage scores. They have a very low coverage success, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move this one back into here. Because I don't know what's going on with the play. I want to know where this guy is going. And then over here, I'm going to start trying to put pressure on the quarterback because I still know this guy's down. I'm going to put him to here. And my DB back here, right at the back, I'm going to actually... what do I do? Where do I think you're going to go? Even though I know. So let's say at the moment, because this guy's fallen over, this safety might drift across just to make sure he's covered. Okay, so let's go back to the play. We've now completed the first play. It does seem slightly slow because we're demoing it, but literally it takes a few moments to play through and you've moved everyone. Now we're on to the business end. We are on to the second phase. And in the second phase, what happens is players move their full movement. Okay, now in this case, those are all on the cards, but what happens is you move one player, then you can throw the pass, and then the defense moves one player. Okay, does that make sense, Dr. Gay? Okay, so which are your... now, your offensive line can move, but really, very rarely does that actually help your game. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. So what you're really looking to do is move those skill players. So who would you like to move first? Remembering what your play is. Keep in mind, I'm still trying to guess in the game what's over here on the play deck.
I'm going to move Trust Fund Tray.
Okay, so Trust Fund Tray's got some evading to do if he's going to go anywhere. Now, we know, because we've read the card, that he wants to go to this zone here. Okay, so if we look at the card, we have the card down here. He gets a bonus, the flanker, if he goes to that second zone from the line of scrimmage. And we also know that this play needs the quarterback to throw to the first two moves. So we know that that player on the other side, because he's fallen down and is covered, he's not going to get to his zone in time. So do we want to try and... Okay, so let's see how we get on.
So he rolled on evade on this guy.
Yeah, that was last phase, though. This is another phase. No, that doesn't count. But if he's moving away from a player, he does not have to roll an evade roll. It's only if you move through adjacent squares. So you might want to go... You're going to weave through there. Now, this is a good example of evasion, because at the moment, that move did not need an evade roll. The flanker was moving away from this player was engaged, and this player, he did not run through two of the squares that were adjacent to him. So that didn't need an evade roll. So that's his first move. He has a second move of 6, so he's got 5 movement to go.
Gonna move him this way.
So now we need an evade roll. Because he's moved from...
His evade roll is 6.
Yeah.
Because he is slippery.
Yes, he is slippery. And he makes that roll.
So he can now evade this guy.
Yeah, he's evaded him. And he's moved his 2.
3. 4.
5. Yeah, now he's in the back corner of the zone that he wanted to pass to. So it's the second zone out from the line of scrimmage that was just the same as on the card. So at this point, the quarterback here, he's not going to get a clearer throw today. That's actually terrible defense, and we've left him wide open. So at this point, we're going to make up what makes a good throw, what makes